Hold my banner. Ante Campbell and I ran through what's been the issues for the Celtics since their mid-December stretch where they're playing some of their worst basketball we've seen in a couple seasons. We also talk about Adam Silver pitching, how he can fix the three-point problem with the NBA and if he should be hands-off. And then also we go into the new 3v3 women's basketball league that will be dropping and launching Friday night. What our takes are on it, all that and more, along with the classic Wicked and Kick It. It's always a good time on Hold My Banner. You can catch that wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime. And if you're watching on Nesson's YouTube page, you can see it there. Just make sure to hit the subscribe button on Nesson's YouTube. Now, let's get to Foxborough Rush. What's up, folks? What's happening? George Balekji here with Keagan Stiefel. Keegs, how we doing today, my man?
I'm doing good. I'm excited. It's been a few weeks since I've been able to talk ball with you, so ready to get going.
I miss it. I miss it a lot. You know,
listen, the higher ups, they gotta get me in here a little more often. You know what I mean? I'm always available. I'm always here to talk.
Well, the thing is, like right now, I know you're coming in from your bunker in Salem. The issue was last time you came on, there was no heat. You were dressed like you were going to break in and rob some stores or / wanted to punch me in the face, which always happens. So I'm happy to see you, a little more casual, a little more relaxed, no more animosity towards me, man. Now we'll talk ball.
I was going to put the beanie on just for the – I'm still wearing – this is warm weather gear or cold weather gear. I'm hunkered down. I like doing these in the basement. It makes me feel like official. I don't know why, but it does. So I'm down here and we're ready to go.
Hey, we got a full show for you guys today between Keegan and I. We'll talk draft as we always do. More importantly, we're going to talk about the front office for this Patriots. Look, attention's gone towards the head coach. What a week it's been, Keegan, right? Like today's Thursday. It feels like it is 3 Thursdays from now, from Sunday being the announcement of Mike Vrabel to Monday being the Vrabel presser. It's been head coach talk, been coordinator talk, a little bit of Drake Maye. Why wasn't he around the team talk? We got that later on in the show. More importantly, we're going to hit on the offensive coordinators, the general manager. That'll be working with the coordinator to get him his personnel. We'll be talking Patriots draft as well. What do they do at number 4 overall? But also the effects of how the top 10's looking right now, because I am actually worried for the Pats picking at 4. We'll get into that more, all that. But Keegan, I want to start with this. Friend of the program, before he went on to bigger and better things, a.k.a. Michael Lombardi, he would hop on Rush every Friday. And you know what? An old friend gave him a call, said, come be the GM at UNC. He was like, guys, really hard. I enjoy my 15 minutes every week on Rush. You guys are fantastic to me, but I think I'm going to go with Bill Belichick to Chapel Hill. Don't blame him. Tough
decision.
Yeah, right? Come on, man. Spend 15 minutes with me once a week or go be a GM down in Chapel Hill. Easy decision there. Or it's just more of, George, I'm done dealing with you. Michael Lombardi, what I loved bringing him on, Keegs, was openly critical to the Crafts, openly critical to how Drake Maye was functioning as a coach and the overall operation in New England. Once Mike Vrabel was introduced as head coach, we heard Bill Belichick with an endorsement from him. Michael Lombardi, his latest appearance on the Pat McAfee show, this is what he had to say about Mike Vrabel now being the head coach of the Patriots.
Now they brought in somebody who understands how to lead. They brought in somebody who can hold players accountable. And he does it from an ex-player's point of view, which is really impressive. He's got a commanding figure to him. He's a great coach. He's smart. For the life of me, I don't understand why he sat out of last year. I think it's a tremendous hire. I have great respect for Mike Vrabel. I think he knows what he wants. He'll do exactly what we talked about here at North Carolina. He's going to scout inside out. The team will be tough. Practices will be demanding. He also knows how to work the players through it because he's done it, and he speaks from a voice of authority. I think it's really one of the best hires. I mean, for him to be out of football based on what had happened in the NFL last year in terms of the coaching is hard to believe. I mean, look, some of these teams, Tennessee made a coaching change, they didn't get better. New England made a coaching change, they didn't get better. Atlanta made a coaching change, they didn't get better. Sometimes change doesn't make you better. I thought when Tennessee let Mike Vrabel go, that was a mistake, and I think New England benefited.
Man, refreshing to hear. Look, he went with the buzzwords, you could say, but think about how he's going, how to lead. He's accountable, all from an ex-player's point of view. He's commanding, smart. He's got great respect for him. He's very demanding of his players. Michael Lombardi, very critical of Drake Maye and very critical of Robert Kraft. And we understand it because obviously he is Bill Belichick's guy. That's his boy. So how Bill Belichick was done towards the end of his tenure and how Drake Maye was ushered in, There's going to be a chip on Michael Lombardi's shoulder with all of that. But him having those endorsements of Mike Vrabel, it's not just, hey, man, he was good in Tennessee. He did well there. I think it's a good hire by the Patriots. Essentially what he's saying there, Keegan, by hiring this head coach, the Patriots get better. And I agree. The floor for the Pats went higher. He was a high floor hire, right? You and I think, and we never spoke about it. I wanted Ben Johnson because of the ceiling. I wanted Ben Johnson because of the partnership between him and Drake Maye for 10, 15 years. And I believe you could have constructed a coaching staff around him with head coach experience, associate head coaches, defensive coordinators that have been head coaches, special team coordinators that have been assistant or associate head coaches in their tenures as well. You could have gone that route, right? I don't hate the Mike Vrabel hire. I really do like it because for a building that is void of leadership, culture, competency, IQ, smarts, leadership. Did I already say that? Void of everything is what I'm getting to. The floor is a lot higher. If Vrabel was the head coach of the Patriots this past season, Keegan, that's a 6-win team in my opinion. It truly is. So it's cool to hear Michael Lombardi with that strong endorsement. And it's more than him just seeing Vrabel as a candidate he likes. That's also, when it's coming from Mike Lombardi, it's coming from Bill Belichick as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think it's a coincidence that we always hear Bill speak first. You get his thoughts on McAfee about the Mike Vrabel hire, and then he's really, glowing in his praise of the former player and all that stuff. And then when you hear Lombardi say it's a lot of the same stuff, I don't think that's an accident. I think it's probably done that way because Michael Lombardi, I think he has a lot of great insight, but a lot of the stuff he does say is going to just echo the thoughts of Bill Belichick. So on that end, not surprised at all. Not surprised that he liked the hire, because not only did it fit kind of where Bill Belichick saw it, but, I'm another person who really liked the hire. You said you preferred Ben Johnson because of the way they could have set things up, right? I preferred Mike Vrabel because I thought what they needed early on was kind of a hard reset in terms of culture. And we heard that a lot under Drake Maye, where they were trying to reset the culture, but they went so far the other way that they failed to hammer home the, we're going to be accountable, right? And you started to see things creep in that had a negative effect on it. So I thought the one person who has proven the ability to fix a culture within a franchise was Mike Vrabel, and he's going to come in and do the same thing. So the way you felt about Ben Johnson, I felt the same way about Mike Vrabel. I didn't really think they could have gone either way. I think they could have gone either way. I think it would have been a good hire, but Bingo. I leaned this way because at the end of the day, you need a fresh slate, and it's a lot easier to do that with somebody who has experience versus somebody who doesn't.
Yeah, it's like, and the comp I give him is the Sean McVay, right? When he was hired, and I've said it before, and I've been like, everyone's like, that guy, that inexperienced, never been the head coach. Oh, cool, good head of hair, he's really smart, has a crazy memory, but that's why you're hiring him as a head coach, and everyone is skeptic. Look at him now. I mean, outside of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, I wouldn't take a quarterback-coach combo, head coach combo over Sean McVay and Matt Stafford. Like, they're two, and that's a really big one in front of them, right?
Yep.
Kevin O'Connell, Matt LaFleur, Kyle Shanahan. I'm re-racking this just to refresh people on why you'd go with the Ben Johnson. Look at the best team in the NFC this year, though. It's the Detroit Lions. And look at what Dan Campbell has done. Now, for him, this was his first time as an actual head coach. He's been an interim. He's been an associate head coach for 6 years in New Orleans before he was named to the head coach of the Detroit Lions. Keegan, I always hated the comparison of, well, look at the Detroit Lions. Look how bad they were in Dan Campbell's 1 year. Be patient with me.
Right.
Dan Campbell had 10 years of experience coaching. Drake Maye had half of that. Keep in mind, he had 7 years of interim or assistant head coach experience under his belt. That's real. That is something. And Dan Campbell, Miami, New Orleans, then with Detroit is what he went. Mike Vrabel is a more dialed in, a more buttoned up Dan Campbell, a CEO type, knows how to hire coordinators. Look at his track record. Look, better or worse, guys that were eventually hired to be head coaches. It's a Matt LaFleur. It's an Arthur Smith. He had Todd Downing on his staff, Mike LaFleur, guys that went on to be OCs, from assistants to actual OCs. His guy, and I think we'll see him join the staff, Keegan, Terrell Williams, who was with Vrabel all 6 years in Tennessee. Eventually, his defensive line coach, but associate head coach, has been the D-line and run game coordinator for Aaron Glenn's defense in Detroit. That's significant. I hope he ends up in New England. Defensive coordinator, associate head coach. I hope that happens. But you see that where his coaching tree goes, where Terrell Williams and that defensive line, losing Aleem McNeil, Aiden Hutchinson, getting Zadarius Smith in late in the year and making him work as a high-impact guy. That's what Mike Vrabel brings to it. So I bring the comparisons to the Dan Campbell of CEO, leader. Look at the culture in Detroit, man. It's ridiculous. And I think it encapsulates Keegan with the one thing of when Detroit could have kicked a field goal just to beat the Packers, and it would have been fine. It's 4th and 1. Dan Campbell pulled the offense off the field, and Jared Goff went at him, like pissed. We're not going for it. And Campbell goes, all right, you want to go for it? Get the F back out there. Let's go. Let's see what happens. And they get the first down. Dan Campbell defers to his players in certain moments, but he's built up that confidence and that competitiveness and that tenacity that Jared effing Goff, like surfer boy from California, doesn't care about anything. He's the one that's like, we're not going for it. And he didn't say, put the ball in my hands. He was like, we're not going for it. Like, as a team, that's something you'd get with the Vrabel. Taylor Lewan said it in his video he's posted. Logan Ryan said it. We've had it on the show. Those one-score games, you're going to win them. Taylor Lewan said you're going to win all of them. That's outrageous. Because then the Patriots would have had 10 wins this season. If they added all those one-score losses they had, they would have won all those games. But that's a confidence he gives, and that's a culture he brings. So that's why it goes back to, and Keegan, I'm happy we're having this conversation. The floor is there. The ceiling is there. You know what you get with Vrabel. And again, it's like the foundation of the house wasn't cracked for the Patriots. It was completely taken away, man. It was like everything was wiped out. It was just, you had to start from scratch. There's cracked foundation, and then there is, hey, there's nothing but sand underneath this, and it's slowly sinking. You got to do something about it. And Vrabel is a guy that comes in, puts a whole new foundation down, and rebuilds it back up.
Yeah, one of the big things that I think we're going to hear, and I've talked about it, you've talked about it, is culture, right? He's going to be able to come in and build a culture.
Yeah.
I hesitate a little bit with that because at the end of the day, you don't know how players are going to react. They reacted really well in Tennessee. Who knows if things were so bad in New England that you bring in a head coach who's going to go about it the way that he went about it in Tennessee, it might not work, right? So I hesitate being like, yeah, he's going to come in and fix everything. It's going to be sunshine and rainbows. It might not be. The one thing that I think without a doubt that you can count on Mike Vrabel, he's got relationships. And he knows people across the NFL. And the NFL is a who-you-know business. And taking last offseason and comparing it to this offseason, what are the major differences between the Drake Maye hire and the Mike Vrabel hire? Because we heard a lot about culture with both. But Drake Maye didn't have the experience. He didn't know people around the league. And that had a huge hindrance on who he was able to bring in on his staff. We heard it all last offseason. They went through about 20 offensive coordinator interviews, and the last guy they interviewed was the one who ended up getting the job.
Yeah.
That's not going to be the case this year, right?
No.
I think Mike Vrabel, he said, I have a long list, but it's a long list of guys he knows, and he's going to put them through the ringer of how are you going to make my guys that are on the roster right now better, and how are you going to, he's talked about it really openly and honestly. I want to be multiple in the way we do things. I want to be creative.
Yep.
I want to put every single player that's currently on the roster in a position to succeed. And if they can't, if we put them in position to succeed across the board and it just doesn't work out, that's when we move on. That's when we make upgrades. But he said it. Everybody gets a fresh slate. If you're in the building right now, you're going to have an opportunity to make this team and contribute moving forward. So the fact that he has relationships with enough people to where he can be selective in the process of picking his staff is huge. I don't think the Patriots had that last year. I think it was like, you want a job? No. You want a job? No. He'll take it. All right, you're on the staff. They're not going to do that this year. So the huge thing with Mike Vrabel is he knows enough people around the league. He's got enough connections around the league to where they're going to be able to build a good staff to set these players up to be successful for the long haul. Not just right away, because we all know they need to bring in more talent. This roster, as currently constructed, is not good enough. But as they move forward, they're going to put people in positions to succeed to where maybe a guy who you didn't think could stick around is going to find himself in a position to where he can have a role moving forward. I think that's huge because it's going to be so difficult turning this roster around. So maybe if you get some guys who are on the fringe and can actually turn out to be players for you, that'll be great.
And that's where the success has been with all the other head coaches we've mentioned, these fourth rounders. Yeah. What was Puka Nacua, fifth? Right? Like you have a fifth rounder. Kyron Williams, like a forgotten afterthought. Saw him play in high school, saw him play at Notre Dame. Always a fan of the guy. What he was for the Rams this season, continues to be for the Rams this season is absolutely phenomenal. It's finding those late round guys. It's getting those guys through free agency. And we'll get into it. F it. Let's do it right now. You talk about relationships because the first relationship that we're all thinking about is between the head coach and the offensive coordinator and the head coach and Mike Vrabel in this front office. So we know the reports. Elliott Wolf is sticking around. So it sounds like. We'll see after the draft if that's official. Then there was the Albert Breer report of SI.com that Ryan Cowden accepted a role with the Patriots as the VP of player personnel, not executive vice president. So that means he will be underneath Elliott Wolf. He will be answering to Elliott Wolf. Now,
right there.
I'm not happy with it. If a GM comes in and you have an actual general manager, then I'm fine with the pecking order. But you see it right there, what Mike Vrabel, the comments he's made about Elliott Wolf. And this is the thing, Keegan. I want you and I to pause for 3 seconds. Ready?
Yep.
Mike Vrabel just mentioned Elliott Wolf 7 different times in those 3 seconds that we were silent. Yeah. He mentioned him 3 of his first 4 answers at his press conference. He mentions him left and right in every question about coaching staff and personnel and collaboration. Clearly, Elliott Wolf sounds like he's sticking around, or else Mike Vrabel would never mention his name. He's mentioned Drake Maye, I think, twice. Actually, I think he's mentioned Drake Maye by name twice. So Ryan Cowden's the number 2 to Elliott Wolf. Here's the addition by subtraction. Matt Groh, who was a director of player personnel, it sounds like he's taking a step back. And I think that is huge because Groh's been with New England since 2011. I'm going to be really nice here. He's been nothing. He's added nothing. So at least there's something where there is more structure and leadership, and maybe someone not named Bill Belichick can teach Matt Groh how to be something, because it was Al Groh worked with Belichick and the Giants. He did a solid by Al. Matt, come on, stick on my staff. And that guy's just been nothing. So at least there's those spots. But if you were to, what do you think how that dynamic's going to work, Keegan, when you think of with Mike Vrabel, Ryan Cowden, Elliott Wolf sitting at a table going over draft prospects, free agency prospects, and overall roster construction? How do you think those dynamics will work out?
I think it's all about how they go into this, right? I think Elliott Wolf, it's an ego hit, right? You brought in a head coach who very clearly has more say over the roster than you do. I think final say goes through Mike Vrabel. I don't think you can really argue that at this point. Everything we've heard, everything we've seen. So you're bringing in a guy who has essentially taken your job and he's bumped you down on the totem pole. And then you brought in another guy who's right below you. So you're stuck in between 2 people who have a relationship together, who very clearly see things a similar way in terms of roster construction. So that's an ego hit. I think that's a really uncomfortable spot for Elliott Wolf to be in. If he can just accept that and look at it as, all right, I need to be a little bit more malleable in terms of the way I look at things, and I need to listen to the opinions of others, and I need to understand that I don't have the final say. If he could do that, I think this is great, because the Patriots were smart not to clean house entirely, I believe, because they let it go too far. They've known where they were going to be around about in the draft position for 3-4 months now. They knew they were going to be a top 5 team. They've been doing draft preparation for that for months at this point. So if you clean house, you have to start from scratch. Now you're behind the 8 ball for teams who didn't end up firing everybody, like the Giants, like the Browns. So I think it was smart to keep things in place as it relates to the higher-ups, to where, all right, we've got all our draft preparation ready. That allows Mike Vrabel and Ryan Cowden to come in and say, here's what we like, here's what we don't like, here's how we're going to change the way you think about certain players, how they're going to fit what we like to do in terms of roster construction. I think they went about it as well as you could in a situation where you had to fire your head coach and you had to make a decision where the guy who was setting up your roster is no longer going to be the number 1. The fact that he was willing and able to say, all right, I'll be the middleman. I'll sit here and I'll set you guys up to where now you can make the final decisions and put things where they need to be. A lot of respect to Elliott Wolf for doing that, because he could have said, nope, I'm the guy. I have final say. I don't know what you're talking about, but it's in my contract that I have final say over roster decisions. So a lot of respect to that, and just the way they were able to go about it. I really think it was the best way to do it, because any other way you would have either been behind the 8 ball or you would have had infighting.
Because that's the thing. And look, and my big thing was you need to do something about the leadership that they had, because when the top 3 guys that they've been working with in their personnel department was Elliott Wolf, Matt Groh, Patrick Stewart, Sam Fioroni, all carryovers from Belichick times and learning how to be in personnel and scouting from Bill Belichick. Defensive side works out nice. but offensively always been behind the times. If they cleared house, like you're losing all the information, scouting grading systems. Like Elliot Wolf, remember, he said that we had to redo everything.
Right.
That's going to take a while.
Last year.
Yeah, exactly. Just a year removed. Best case scenario, Elliot Wolf learns from a Mike Vrabel and a Ryan Cowden, and maybe they bring in a GM. And he moves up or he becomes that GM with another franchise. But like learns from the people with around him. And just it makes it easier in a way. You don't have to start anew. You know, like you're familiar with everything. It's not a new job. Worst case scenario, he learns from them, doesn't work out for him, and he goes and becomes a GM elsewhere. I'm still holding my breath for an actual general manager to come in. I'm still holding my breath for the Patriots to hire an actual general manager, a GM who Elliot Wolf answers to, and then Ryan Cowden answers to Elliot Wolf and the general manager, and a GM that would work with a Mike Vrabel. So, and we've heard names floated, and I've given you 3 guys that I want. Keegan, right. I almost called you Elliot. Apologies. 3 guys that I want as a potential general managers for the Patriots: Mike Borgonzi, assistant general manager with the Chiefs; Ray Agnew, assistant general manager with the Lions; Alec Hallaby, assistant general manager with the Eagles. Quick one, Keegan, quick reaction. What do all 3 of those candidates in your eyes have in common?
They work for teams that know what they're doing.
Thank you. That's it. And I don't want to overthink it. So I want to start quick with, I'm going to pitch to you. I'm all 3 of their agents, right? I represent all 3 of these guys. You're Robert Kraft. So put on your white collared shirt that's also blue and your blue blazer. Hey, I want to start with you. Mike Borgonzi is the guy for your job. He's the assistant general manager for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's been in Kansas City since 2009 and rose through the ranks next to Brett Veach, who is currently his right-hand man. Brett Veach, one of the best general managers in the NFL. When he was rising through the ranks, he was a scout. He worked in football ops, director of scouting, director of personnel, director of football ops, now the assistant general manager. His draft history, I'm not going to bring up Mahomes. I'm not going to bring up first rounders. Nick Bolton, Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Isaiah Pacheco, Leo Chenal, Chamari Connor. Free agency signings, Hollywood Brown, when active, has been an impact guy for the team. He's figured out how to keep Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, and Travis Kelce all under contract and within this dynasty. And here's the best part from Everett. And he said in the past, when the Patriots had their GM vacancy, that is a dream job for any personnel guy to go into that front office and put their hands and put their influence on the overall structure of the franchise. From Everett, and here's the last one, best part. His dad was a season ticket holder for 20 years for the Patriots. His wife's from North Reading. The guy is a number 2 in Kansas City. He wants to lead his own front office. He's in his 50s. This is his job for the next 20, 30 years. That's how he sees it. I believe that. That's what Mike Borgonzi, with the experience, with the learning from Brett Veach and the true leadership, how he's built up. The Chiefs helped to do that. He could do that with the Patriots and Drake Maye.
Here's what I'll say, and I don't want to step on the other 2 candidates that you have. I think it's an important thing to remember when you're talking about potential general managers down the road.
Yeah.
Mike Vrabel has final say. That's not going to change as long as he's head coach. So if you want to keep this guy around and you want him to be your head coach for the long haul, I don't think you're bringing in a general manager who's going to all of a sudden have a bigger swing in you-know-what than him. It's just not going to happen. So I think the way they've set it up is the only way they feasibly can with Mike Vrabel in the head coaching chair. I don't know if that's ill-informed. That's how I see it from a 10,000-foot view. That's just the way I see it.
You hired Mike Vrabel to be the head coach. He knows his personnel. You didn't hire him to be a head coach and general manager. You guys need a general manager. Because you could look at Ryan Cowden, and look, he's worked in front offices since 2000 as a scout. He's been around in front offices that drafted Josh Norman, Star Lutulele, Kaiwan Short, Jack Conklin, Kevin Byard, Jeffrey Simmons. Like, hey, a lot of nice names, right? Yeah. Let me give you on the Ray Agnew then. Played for the Patriots in the 90s. Worked for the Rams from 2017 to 2020 in that front office. The Rams, one of the best front offices. Been with the Lions as an assistant general manager since 2021. That's a team, again, late round draft picks, non-first rounders, Ali McNeil, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Kirby Joseph, Brian Branch, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, DJ Reader, they've signed a free agency, Kevin Zeitler, David Montgomery, Alex Anzalone, who went from like prove-it deals 1 year to 3-year extensions. This is a guy that's filled voids when it's needed. And fine, you have a strong head coach candidate. You have a guy that wants a final say on all personnel. You have a guy that runs the building. Okay, Ray Agnew just worked with Dan Campbell, What is a Mike Vrabel to a Dan Campbell? Same type of personality, same type of base, same type of guy. Ray Agnew's done it. He's played for New England. That's a beautiful story Robert Kraft would love. But again, he's been around a team. Look at how they constructed. And best of all, Ray Agnew knows how to build a championship team. Because with the Chiefs, Mahomes covers up a lot. Look how long, over these 3 years, they built this offense around Jared effing Goff. And look where it is now. Inside out, front to back, great running backs, great run game, great offensive line, great receivers, and you have the right system in play to make that quarterback flourish.
Listen, I hear you, and I get it. I just don't see it happening. I don't want to step all over your dreams, George. I understand that you want a guy to come in and be build it like everybody else, all these other successful teams.
Isn't that crazy to think? Isn't that crazy to think?
It's just not going to happen. No, because you've made your bed. Now you have to lie in it. No. You gave Mike Vrabel say. He's not going to give that up. It's just not going to happen.
I need a 50-50 here. It's like a marriage, Alec Hallaby, he's young. He's a nerd. He's from Harvard. I'm not even going to get into him. You crushed my dreams. I really want the top two.
I'm sorry.
It's crazy, man. Lions, Chiefs, Eagles, Rams, Ravens, Bills. They all have general managers. And then the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Rams, the Eagles, they have strong head coaches. It's almost like ownership messes this up. Okay. Hey, if you're enjoying the show, be sure to check out Foxborough Rush every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for all things Patriots football. Mike Vrabel's hired. We'll see if they get a general manager. The Patriots have the number 4 overall pick. The offseason is just heating up. That's Foxborough Rush. New episodes dropping 3 days a week, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime, and on YouTube you can watch as well, Twitch and Facebook. So, Keegan, I said it in the beginning, man, and I'm not feeling good. And it's not from all the wings I had for lunch. I'm not feeling good whenever I look at this draft because
they bring wings into the office. Did I miss that, or was that a you thing?
I made the conscious decision. Hey, Keegan's not here. I'm getting wings. That was it.
It's very rude. Guy's working on his off day. He can't even get some wings. That's crazy. Whatever.
I'll find a good spot in Salem to DoorDash it to. Hopefully they come extra cold and they forget the sauce. We have how many months until the draft? 4, right? January, February, March,
4,
April. Yeah. Okay. A lot's going to change.
Always draft season.
So remember, it truly is. The second the draft ends, I'm looking at next year. Remember my feelings today. They'll be very different tomorrow when more mocks come out and more information comes out. But as we're seeing what's bubbling, Keegan, the top 3 picks in the draft are going Cam Ward, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter in some order. So that means Cam Ward to the Titans, Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter to the Browns, which makes sense. And then the vice versa to the Giants. Hey, which also makes sense. Cleveland has Myles Garrett getting up there. The Giants have Kayvon Thibodeau, who's been okay. Azeez Ojulari, very injury prone, but continue to dominate the defensive line. What I hate about that is that, Keegan, all of a sudden the Patriots at 4 are going, Ted McMillan? Kelvin Banks? Now, Shador Sanders is on the board, and this is when an Elliott Wolf has to step up. But as you look at that top 10 draft order, ending with the Bears at 10, dude, I see Raiders at 6, Jets at 7, Saints at 9. Maybe the Jaguars are dumb enough to trade up at 5, but all teams that can move up if they want a quarterback.
Right.
If the Patriots end up not with an Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter and they stick at 4, that's going to be a tough draft for me to stomach because those are 2 guys that are can't miss prospects when you're outside of the top 3 keys.
Right. That's a disaster. The situation you just laid out is a disaster. I think we can all see it coming. I don't necessarily know if that's the way it's going to go. Right now, the way we look at it, it's entirely possible. And that is a disaster. So the way I look at it, right, if you're either going to have Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter as your number 1. And I would argue that the other guy should just be your number 2. And if you can come out of the draft at number 4 with one of those 2, throw a party. If you can't, now you got to get creative. Now you got to consider trading back because I don't think you can draft one of these tackles at number 4.
Same.
Now we're starting to see guys who, the Kelvin Banks of the world and Will Campbell's, those were originally, OT1. That's who we saw as OT1. Now that I'm getting more into it, and Armand Membu, I'm interested. I'm thinking might be the guy, So can you trade back with a San Francisco if San Francisco wants to go make a swing, take a run at it? A New York, if they're looking for a quarterback to replace Aaron Rodgers. Then you can move back a few spots, still guarantee yourself one of either the number 1 tackle or the number 2 tackle, depending on how things flow.
Mm-hmm.
and then you're getting capital on top of it. I think that's the way you move if you're unable to get an Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, or you just sit there, you wait for one of them to fall, because at the end of the day, teams are dumb. Somebody's going to trade up for a quarterback. I believe that fully.
Yeah.
So, or maybe the Giants just take one. Who knows, right? Because they need to figure it out at quarterback. So I think you're in a decent spot, but there is just a slight, a thought in the back of my mind that, they're going to screw this up, and it's going to turn out disastrous.
And you know what, though? Some of it, to me, is out of their hands, out of their control, and that's a thing, too. Because, and it was, man, like, you and I have said it. We've said it in the office. We've said it in the show. I've said it with Travis. I've said it with our producer, Ethan. I've said it to the guy that works a post office in Watertown who's also a Grateful Dead fan because, we talk about life every time I have to mail something out.
Oh, yeah,
the Patriots need that number 1 overall pick more than anything. Needed it. Yeah. Because they weren't going to take anyone at 1, but they have so many needs. They needed the extra draft capital. And if they walked away picking 4th or 6th, but had an extra 1st and 2nd in next year's draft, an extra 2nd in this year's draft, so it would have been 2 seconds, 2 thirds. Maybe they would have still gotten an Abdul Carter in that scenario. Maybe they would have gotten an immediate impact player like an Azeez Ojulari from the Giants, like we laid it out, even though he's injury prone. Maybe. All of this. They're stuck at 4, and out of their control is what's going to happen in the top 3. Now, if it shakes out that way and they stick at 4 and they can't trade back, my man, get something. You have the Raiders at 6. You have the Jets at 7. They are both need quarterbacks. The Jets are morons. So I understand you don't want to help out your division rival. Brick Johnson's going to F that up one way or the next. That's how it's going to go.
Like Brick. Brick's my guy.
No, I'm not talking our Jack and Brick as in Andy Brickley. I'm talking Brick Johnson and Jack Johnson.
No, yeah, the 14-year-old, the kid who is ruining the New York Jets. That's awesome to me. If he wants to continue ruining them for the next 60 years, that's fine. I'm okay with it.
But yeah, and that's where it stands because we can see like the Patriots at 4. Say they take a Ted McMillan. It could be Will Johnson of Michigan going 5. Shador Sanders falling to the Raiders at 6. And that's the thing where maybe if you're the Patriots, you say, F it, take Shador at 4 and stare at Vegas and go, let's do something here. Let's dance.
Right.
Before we give them the hat, we got Shador. Give us something.
NBA night trade?
I would love it. I would effing love it. Him? Yeah. The Jets, I mean, they need help everywhere. Maybe they go Mason Graham, just best available. Panthers could go a Mason Graham, a Jalen Walker, maybe a Will Johnson. They have so many needs, but all defense. The Saints, I don't know. The Bears, maybe they take a big swing on a Josh Simmons. They have 2 good tackles.
Right.
Josh Simmons won't be able to do anything football because of his injury until really close to training camp. Maybe the Bears trade back. Maybe they take a Wyatt Millum, someone that's very flexible and versatile in all his positions. But it's how the top 10 shakes out. It affects a lot of the top 4 and all the potential there. So, let's go quick. And, we've talked about it. We've gone through the scenario at number 1 overall. What do you think the Patriots do at 4? And let's go with right now, they're sticking at 4, Keegan. And let's go with it. No, you know what? Fine. With the variable I laid out, it goes Ward, Hunter, Abdul Carter, top 3. Excuse me. What would you do at 4?
I wanted to lay this out because I know you like to give me life lessons as my mentor, as somebody made that decision that you were going to be my mentor. So you like to lay them out. I'm going to drop some knowledge on you. I think I made that decision
without you having any say.
You did. Yeah, whatever, man. There are 3 words that, and this is very serious, that I like to live by. I think they're really, it's a great reminder for you at all times, no matter what situation you're in. Respond, don't react. Because when you react to things, that's when you get into trouble. When you respond, when you're thoughtful about it, when you're able to weigh the consequences of what you're about to do, you make better, well-informed decisions. I would tattoo that on my arm and show everybody in the Patriots building if I worked there. Right here, pay attention, respond, do not react. And what that means is you need to go into this draft with a plan. You're at number 4. Either things shake out in terms of all 3 of these guys are gone. You're not going to be able to get one of your top 2 options. Here's what the plan is moving forward. You've already placed calls. You've talked to New York saying, hey, if our guy isn't available and your guy is, just give us an idea of who your guy might be. If they are here, we can get this thing pushed through no problem right away. Because if you're reactionary in this situation and you're, all right, guys, Abdul Carter, come on down. He's going to be a Patriot. And then God forbid he gets picked before you, and you're scrambling, that's when you go draft a Ted McMillan, who is at the highest of highs, what he could possibly be, you've said it before, maybe a Mike Evans.
Mm-hmm.
And then look down. I'm thinking like Quentin Johnson is on the table. Like he can be that level of wide receiver where he's got the drop. I think he'll be better. Don't get me wrong.
He's got good hands, McMillan. The lack of separation worries me. Yeah.
The way I look at Ted McMillan, he's a great number 2 wide receiver if you have a great slot guy.
Yeah.
Right? Like he can be your outside guy if you have a number 1 slot out there. If you have a Devontae Smith, he can be your A.J. Brown. Not as good, obviously, but he can play that role. But if you go and just draft this dude, and that's the wide receiver, and it sounded like that's kind of what Mike Vrabel was explaining what he wanted out of a wide receiver. He was like,
catch
I want guys who can play tackles,
contested catches. Yeah. Doesn't let any PBUs happen. But he did say separation, Keegan, and that's not where Ted McMillan excels.
But
carry on.
Shiver down my spine. God forbid they end up with Ted McMillan. I think that's a disastrous scenario. So coming back to it, you're coming into this with a plan to where you can respond to things that happen and you're not reactionary, you don't make a bad decision. I think that's huge. I think it's the number 1 thing they should be looking to do is respond to the things that happen in front of them and not react to them. Think about it.
I agree with that response right there. Like I just agree with you laying all that out because that's when it comes into being able to respond. They have to have the scenarios. Hey, if the top 3 shakes out this way. Hey, if Travis Hunter falls to us. Hey, if Abdul Carter falls to us. If both of them are staring us in the face. Like, so much can happen.
Absolutely on the table.
And that's where we have 4 months to talk about it. They better act like they have 2 weeks to plan. And when I say that, they better be cramming. Like, I wake up every morning. How much time do I have allotted for prep for shows? How much time do I have allotted for, editing for shows? Just whatever. I'm actually not going to get to the minutia. No one cares about me. But as they plan out their day, every effing day should be like 5 hours set aside of draft prep, one way or the next. And out of those 5 hours, there better be an hour and a half of actual draft day talk. Yeah. Round 1, round 2, round 3, scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 3, A, B, and C, and how it all shakes out. Because that's what it is. When you prepare, it's a lot easier in the moment. When you're unprepared and you're scrambling and your head's spinning and you don't know what's going on because you haven't visualized it before, you haven't run through it before, that's when you get caught with your pants around your ankles pretty much. That's what this front office can't do. Hey, if you're enjoying the show, be sure to check out today's episode of Nesson's Daily Sports Podcast. Boston has entered the chat. We cover all things Boston sports as well as trending sports topics from around the country. Available on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, Twitch, and wherever else you get your podcasts. So here's the thing, Keegan. I said it kind of joking, but I'm also serious. Let's say the top 3 shakes out how I see it happening.
Yeah.
I'm talking to everyone beforehand. I'm putting out the report. I don't care. Let's put the smoke out there. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Let's put the smoke out there in the media. If Shedeur Sanders falls to the Patriots, they will take Shedeur Sanders. And they will then turn around and trade Shedeur to go further back in the first round of the draft and get more picks. I'm doing that. I'm looking right at Las Vegas and going, you want prime? You need a head coach. You want Shedeur, which I think will be an NFL quarterback. You want this? You're at 6. Take Shedeur, give us your second, and give us a future second-round pick, and let's start the talk right there. Maybe it's another first down the road. But that's what I'm going to do. And I get you laid it out, the respond, right? Don't react. Don't just settle for Ted McMillan. This is my response, though. Hey, you guys need a quarterback. You want a quarterback. You have a quarterback now being a primary owner of your team or at least having influence. We're taking a quarterback. Our quarterback knows, and we will lay it out to him. If I'm Elliot Wolf, I'm making an X, an Instagram, everything. The second they draft Shedeur, I'm putting out a post. Hey, guys, we planned this. We talked to Drake Maye. He's fully on board with it. Watch what we do with Shedeur here. Shedeur, love you. Prime, love you. You guys are great people. We're going to trade you right now to Las Vegas. And then I'm going to do that because that's how it's going to go. Look, I'm done with the games and I'm done with not being smart. You got to be aggressive to make stuff happen. And you go to Vegas and go, we're going to do it now, or you trade up. Let's make some stuff happen. You go to the Jets and say the same thing. It's not out of the realm of possibility. Now, maybe I am pie in the sky because I'm not a general manager. Maybe it's some like stupid like boys club of, hey man, don't do me wrong. Come on, just let me get Shador at 6. You take Ted at 4. Bygones be bygones. And Elliot Wolf goes, yeah man, you're right. Sounds good. Let's all do it. We'll hang out in Nantucket over the summer. I don't care about any of that. I'm done. My job's on the line. I'm done being mocked at. I'm done with everyone piling on this franchise and how much of a joke it is. If I'm Robert Kraft and Jonathan Kraft, I'm thinking this too. Go out, be aggressive. And guess what? Hey, Robert, everyone hates you, it seems like, when it comes to owners. Like Jerry Jones fired Mike McCarthy at that time on Monday for a very particular reason, to take away from Vrabel's presser. You're hated? Who cares if you're hated more, man? Do this, do right by your franchise, and set it up for the future.
So here's the way I look at it. And again, don't want to dump on your hopes and dreams.
Whatever, man. This is what you're doing today. Happy Friday, everyone.
You mentioned Boys Club. I think the biggest thing you can do to get yourself exiled from the Boys Club is get into a pissing match with another team where who's going to blink first? Yeah, I got 2 quarterbacks. You don't have any. How are we going to figure this out? Because I think Vegas can look at you and go, okay, waste a roster spot on another quarterback. We'll figure it out from here. We're not going to give in to your demands because you're going to try to strong-arm us into something. And maybe they will, right? Vegas, notoriously idiotic franchise ever since Big Al, rest in peace, ever since he kicked the bucket. You got idiots running around that building running things. So I don't want to overestimate the way they approach business. I just don't see a world in which you get into a staring contest with somebody and you see who's going to blink first, and then they taped their eyes open, and you're going to end up losing. And now you have 2 quarterbacks. You wasted your first-round pick. There's going to be an uproar across New England if they weren't able to trade him within the hour of doing it, right? So that's what I mean by going into the draft with the plan where, all right, the 3 guys that we expect to go 1, 2, 3 go, and now we don't really value anybody at the number 4 pick. You should have 5 trades lined up already.
Yep.
And now you're calling in, all right, this is one I like better, but there's another team over here, and they're willing to go above. Are you willing to raise your offer? That's why you need to be so prepared going into this draft, because that's when you can start, tweaking with things a little bit. You could strong-arm a 3rd-round pick out of a team who's really desperate. They really want to move up for Shador Sanders. Maybe it is Vegas. Maybe it's New York. So I don't think it'll get that far, to be honest with you, because I think teams are just going to say, all right, quarterback's available. New England doesn't need one. Let's move up. We've got a trade in the works already. So
yeah, and I think so.
I don't think it'll get that far, but if it does, man, now you're bringing a match to a gasoline party. Like you're going to set things ablaze.
You get a peek into it when we heard all the dialogue from the Hard Knocks with the Giants between Joe Shane and Elliot Wolf. Elliot, buddy, what's up, man? How you doing? Yeah. Hey, if you're going to trade from 3, call us. Call me. Call us. Call me. Please. Please, please, please. Yeah. Please, can you? Please.
I also think that's maybe one of the bigger goofballs in the NFL who was on
Joe
the
Shane.
other line of the phone. Yeah, he's just he's a weird guy.
Yeah, it's the chair at his office. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, it's every shot. It's like one with the headrest, and he looks like a robot. Like, just like turns around.
It's the Dr. Evil chair.
Yeah, and like
full back support, and he's like,
I'm a defender of the Giants, Brian Dable. I'm a defender of Brian Dable, and I'm just roping in Joe Shane into it a little. I'm more of a truther. I'm a John Mara truther that he effed them both over with the whole Daniel Jones situation. He wanted them. They won a playoff game. They had Saquon Barkley. Daniel Jones had more rushing touchdowns than passing. And for whatever reason, John Mara said, franchise quarterback, don't let him hit free agency. Guess what? Daniel Jones is with A1 Sports and Dave Mulugeta, who gets his guys paid. Why you didn't let him test the market, I don't know. John Mara, you are an idiot. You and Brick Johnson probably get brunch in Montclair on every Sunday. Like, I'm convinced of that. Anyhow.
It's a 72-year age difference between those 2 guys. Just hanging out. Just boys.
It'd be weird, man. It'd be really weird.
Visual, very funny.
Final number 4 scenario for you. Okay. All right, now I'm cheating, but hey, I'm the host. I can cheat. It actually goes 2 quarterbacks, top 3. You take Travis Hunter, number 4. You trade back into the first round, and you get a Wyatt Millum. Now, that can depend. Yeah. Did you sign an Alaric Jackson? But if you get a Wyatt Millum from West Virginia, awesome. You don't have to depend on Caden Wallace. You don't have to depend on Layden Robinson.
one of the very few great things about needing 2 offensive tackles is you can go sign one, you can draft one, right? You know what I mean? So
yeah,
you're good. You're in a good spot there.
Thanks, man. See, look at that. Look how quick that was. I went on my long diatribe of trading and all that. And then you and I just meet at the end of, oh, you got Wyatt Millam. You traded back into the first. Sounds good.
I think we just both love the guy. That's a great idea to me. You know what I mean? Go get one of my favorite players in the draft. Sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like you didn't even ask what I gave up for it. I think that's the best part. Yeah, this is a guy that, I mean, just a 3-year starter at left tackle. Yeah. Hey, it's better than the mocks I was sending. I'm like taking 15 players at some point. So
yeah, like let's all relax.
I'm so far beyond that. Before we move on, though, last one for you. Yeah. You're sitting at 4, right? And we've laid out the top 10 to you in many ways. And when you look at who's picking where, what's the furthest you would go back in the first round if you're the Patriots? Going back, not trading back in. What's the furthest you would go back?
7.
Same.
It's at New York. It's 7. I think it's. Where's San Francisco at 11 or 10?
They could move up, man. They might be aggressive.
Right. I think there's a possibility where they'll go in and they'll make, because you're in a year where Deebo Samuel's probably on his way out. You don't know where Brandon Ayuk is on his way back from the injury. Juwan Jennings, you paid him, sure. But do they want to go up and get their favorite wide receiver? All the way up to 4, I don't know. Do they need a tackle, right? They might move up. They might really like one of those guys and go grab them. So I think there's an opportunity. 11's just too far back for me. So I think it's probably 7 for the Jets.
It would be, because if you go to 7, 8 is getting dangerous. And again, the Panthers are picking 8, so they're not going to do much there. You go 7, you're in the Jalen Walker, Abdul Carter, Will Johnson, Mason Graham range. I don't think Abdul Carter's going to be there. But now you're looking at Jalen Carter, Mason Graham pretty much.
Right, but you're guaranteeing yourself a great player. The positional value just might not be there, but you're still getting really good player plus the stuff on the back end, whatever you're going to be able to trade that pick for. So I wouldn't rule it out, right? If they end up with Mason Graham, it's like, a defensive tackle, probably one of the best ones we've seen in the last 5 years, plus you get some extra stuff on the back end. So I don't hate these scenarios. I'd like for them to just come out of the draft with an offensive tackle or one of the 2 best players in the draft. I think that would be great. But if you're not able to, I think if they don't draft Ted McMillan, I don't think there's any scenario where they come out of it in a bad spot.
I like that. Good summary. Hear me out one more time. I'm going to go here. Trade back to 7, Mason Graham. With what you got by trading back to 7, go back into the first round, you get Wyatt Millam.
I'm fine with it. That's what I mean by these scenarios where either way, you're still ending up with good football players. You're maximizing value. If you stick at 4 and you don't take a Carter or a Hunter, then it's okay. You didn't maximize value. You also didn't get one of the best players in the draft.
Then it's disaster. You don't have a plug and play day 1 guy.
Right.
Hey, talking about plug and play, actually, before I get to that, Keegan, real quick, if you're enjoying the show, be sure to check out Nesson's Celtics and basketball-focused podcast, Hold My Banner. You can hear reactions to Adam Silver's comments on the three-point obsession in the NBA, Unrivaled, getting to set to tip off their 3v3 inaugural season for women's hoops, my take on why the Celtics have been struggling the last month, and also me and Ante Campbell running through the wicket and kick-its and the fits around the league. That is Hold My Banner, wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime. You can watch it on YouTube as well. If you're watching on Nesson's YouTube page, hit the subscribe button. Keegan, scale of 1 to 10, how concerned were you that Drake Maye wasn't at locker room cleanout day and Mike Vrabel's presser? Scale of 1 to 10. You got to think this hard. It's not. Yes.
-14.
Nice. I was going to go 2.
Who gives a crap?
The no locker room cleanout day is like eyebrow raise a little, and then I just go on with my day.
Let me just say, I was there.
Yeah.
It wasn't that he wasn't there. He didn't speak.
Oh, thanks for the correction.
I'm sure he said goodbye to his teammates. I didn't see him in person, but from everything that I heard, all the players were there. They had a team meeting. So he was in the building. He just didn't want to come out and speak. And I do think at the end of the day, if you're the starting quarterback for a franchise, you should step up in front of the podium. And
it would have taken 10 more minutes.
You can answer questions, right? Whether it was a timing issue, whether it was a comfortability thing, whatever. At the end of the day, I'm not too worried about it because clearly he was there. He spoke with his team. He was a part of the meetings that they had, being informed that Drake Maye was fired and all these different things. And then the Mayo the Vrabel press conference, another event I was in attendance for.
Oh, look at this.
There were 2 players there. 2 of them. And you might be able to tell me, but can anybody on YouTube or anything tell me who the 2 players were?
All right, we're going to allow 3 seconds for a guess. I'm going to give you mine. 1.
Throw them in the comments.
3. Cardona, long snapper.
Correct.
Okay. Other player? Man. No, Matt Slater doesn't care. I'm done. Who's the other player?
David Andrews. So your NFLPA rep and your number 1 captain, your longest tenured captain, those 2 guys were in attendance. Not a soul to be seen other than those 2 guys. So who cares if the quarterback wasn't there?
Yeah.
Like, Mac Jones was at the Drake Maye press conference last year. That's because he was looking for a job. Like, he wanted to keep his job. It wasn't because he wanted to be there and support his new head coach. He didn't give a crap.
He also made sure to go there like fresh out of workout, like out of a workout clothes. Like, look, guys, I'm working here. I say all this because also I think Drake Maye had a flight to catch. And that's why he met with his team and skipped out, because congrats to Drake Maye. Proposed to his longtime girlfriend on a beach somewhere. Location, I don't know. I haven't read any of the people's.com articles. Here's my thing in all this. Congrats, man. Just went through this myself. Drake Maye, you're poised. You are a high performer. You execute. You're a gamer. You are all about making the main thing the main thing. And you know what it was, man? This guy came into the league as well. I'm guessing. This is completely guessing here. Someone is projecting it, just went through the scenario. It's some of the most stressful-ish of your life. Planning this, making sure you're keeping it a surprise, getting the ring right. I'm guessing, you know how Drake Maye rolls, like all his brothers are everywhere? Like, there's a lot of people you got to get down to. I'm going to throw out a beach, Aruba. Let's just say it's Aruba. You got to get there. If all of a sudden last minute he goes, hey, got to delay the Aruba trip we've been planning for months with my entire family by 2 weeks, then that's a red flag. Now you could go, but he could say, well, Mike Vrabel's in. Look, this guy didn't plan on Drake Maye getting fired. This guy did not plan on Mike Vrabel getting announced as head coach that day. This guy didn't announce, if it all was to happen, that a head coach hire would have happened this quick. He probably guessed, I think the Crafts will do a full search. No, I'm joking. He didn't actually guess that. He's gone through it.
No one did.
It was never a big deal. Anyone that cared, I can understand that you don't talk to the media quick. It's 10 minutes in and out. That's fine. But if you gave it more than 5 seconds of thought, relax, touch grass. It's going to be okay. Because this guy has checked every box you want to see from a number 1 overall pick, A, from a hopeful future franchise quarterback, B. Huge thing for him. Good for him. Super stressful. He got it out of the way. Honestly, best reason to miss all of this. I don't think there's anything better with it being a good reason. You feel me, Keegs?
I got 3 things, and then we can wrap this up because at the end of the day,
hurry before my producer Ethan kills you.
I know. Number 1, congratulations to George. Everybody, congrats to George in the chat. Fianced man. Number 2, Mike Vrabel talked about it in his press conference where family comes first. If you have something going on, we can give you 90 minutes during the day to go take care of it, and you can come back to the building. Not a big deal. Number 3, he's the same height as his fiance while on a knee. Very funny. I thought that was hilarious. When I saw that picture, I was cracking up. There's like a 1.5 foot height difference there.
Yeah.
Cracked me up. But at the end of the day, who cares? Who cares?
Exactly. You know what? Good for him. This is what you want, man. This is what you want. This guy isn't messing around. He's all football. He's wifed up already, booed up, engaged. Yeah. And you know what? Here's the thing, too. Everyone's going, well, now when you're expecting the sophomore jump, he's going to be planning a wedding. No. She's planning the wedding. Let's be real.
Right.
You're just there.
What man's planning the wedding in the first place? I don't know a single dude who was like, I got wedding planning going on.
You sign save the dates and you text some people for addresses. That's what I've been learning, man. That's what I've been learning through this process. Keegan, get ready. You're soon. Oh, wait, no, I'm joking. If your girlfriend's watching the show now, she's going to be like, what's going on? She's going to
start yelling at me, yeah.
He's Keagan Stiefel. I'm George.
Screaming in our ear.
He's Keagan Stiefel. I'm George Balekji. This is Foxborough Rush. Make sure to catch new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, wherever you get your podcast. If you're watching Neston's YouTube page, hit the subscribe button. For Keegs and George, thank you so much, guys. See you next week.